Ready? Karyn Bryant for MMA H.E.A.T. I'm here with UFC President Mr. Dana White. And Dana, I told Alistair when I saw him before that he's the one person here, everybody said, you got to talk to this guy. He's so, it's not even about his own charisma, but he's magnetic. Everybody wants to see this guy. So what has he done for you in terms of this card and the excitement level bringing to it?
Yeah, well, it's good to have him back finally. And I agree. You know, when you look at the guy, he's a monster. You know, he's and then when he fights, you know, his kicks, his punches, everything. He's an impressive human being, and everybody wants to see, can this guy win the heavyweight championship?
Do you think he would be next in line if he gets past Bigfoot?
He is for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So now how does this fit in, though, the Daniel Cormier thing? We know that he's doing the fight with Frank Mir, but Daniel has obviously been on a tear, and I know he doesn't want to fight Kane, but Daniel's right up in the mix too, no?
The way that it works out is the heavyweight division is exciting with a lot of fun fights.
Yeah. So what happens to Bigfoot if he wins and beats Alistair Overeem? Obviously, certainly that increases his.
He'd probably have to take another fight,
yeah.
to, you know, because he and Kane just fought recently, so he'd have to win some more fights.
Now let's talk about Rashad. He's only lost 2 fights, you know, to Lyoto and to John Jones. And some people would say, well, how much does this fight really do for him? How much would beating Little Nog do? How do you see it? How do you explain that fight?
I think Little Nog's one of the top guys in that weight division and has been for years. You know, let me tell you what. Anybody who's and don't all this talk, as we've been talking about. If he wins, if Rashad wins, he'll move to 85 and he could possibly fight Anderson. In no way, shape, or form am I overlooking Little Nog. Little Nog has great wrestling. Little Nog hits hard, good stand-up. He's not being overlooked in any way. It's just the what if Rashad beats him. But Rashad, like you said, Rashad's got 2 losses. Pretty good.
Well, now this brings up the whole idea of the ranking system. You mentioned in the scrum that that's something new. So if you could explain to people what that is, because people have kind of been clamoring for that for a while.
We've been in business with a company called Fight Metrics for a few years now, and they break down all the stats on the show, takedowns, punches, kicks, all this other stuff. So we got involved with them to create UFC fighter rankings in every division. And basically, right now, 90 members of the media have been invited to be a part of this poll, and it will grow. More will become. So it's almost like the AP poll or the USA Today poll. And I just feel like as this thing continues to grow and we break more into the mainstream, everybody on this planet since the day they were born opens the paper. Red Sox or this, basketball, college football, NFL, everybody goes by rankings. So, you know, we waited until the right time to do it, and we feel that now's the right time.
But then, you know, people will demand, well, this person should get the next fight then. This is the linear way it's going to work now. So then are they going to be holding you over the fire to make that fight that looks like on paper it's supposed to happen?
I'm always going to make the fight the fans want to see. I mean, that's what I always say. That's my job. Obviously, if a guy really is ranked #1 and everything lines up, you know, people have to understand that things have to line up. I was on Twitter last night because I can't friggin' sleep, and I'm on Twitter with all these people, and people are like, make Mark Hunt versus this guy. I'm like, Mark Hunt's fighting Struve. Well, make this guy's fighting that guy. I mean, it's like, you know, it depends on what lines up, and, you know, everybody's like, you should have made Mark Hunt and Big Country, which I agree. That's a fun fight, you know what I mean? But they both have fights already. You know, timing has a lot to do with it, too.
So let's talk about the rankings, and we obviously have Frankie Edgar coming down to featherweight, and I know you're calling this a super fight, and I believe that in many ways it is. So legitimately, he became the first #1 contender. But so how does that work out with him now? Let's say Jose Aldo retains the title.
This absolutely, positively is a super fight. Anybody who tries to dispute, it's 2 of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, 2 of the pound-for-pound best fighting in the prime of their career. That's a super fight.
And are you excited, though, about, you know, Anderson moving up, moving down, fighting this guy, fighting that guy? I mean, how much does he figure into your thought process every day about this guy being so good and so great and yet not being as busy as some other fighters?
Well, right now he's not, but he's going to be. He wants big fights. That's what he wants. So we'll get it worked out.
And that whole 10-fight contract thing was true? Not
yeah,
true?
No, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, we said we were going to do an 8-fight deal with him. He came back and said, let's do a 10-fight deal. You know, we don't have a deal done yet, but you know, that doesn't. People keep asking me, is that 10-fight deal done yet? Like it's not going to get done. Like it's This is the way this stuff works. You know, leading into that Fox fight with Nate Diaz, we didn't have a deal with Nate Diaz for halfway through the friggin' training camp for that fight. You know, we ended up getting the deal done. Getting deals done are what we do every day. It's literally the business we're in, is getting deals done, whether we're dealing with fighters, sponsors, television networks, pay-per-view providers, and the list goes on and on. Deals are what we do every day.
I'm looking forward to 157. It's going to be in the backyard there in LA. You mentioned that Ronda Rousey has really lit a fire under new sources of media, new places. So, you know, can you explain who that is and why? You know, why do you think that's happened?
You know, it's one of those things that you can't put your finger on. You can't explain. Why did I all of a sudden say, hey, Ronda Rousey, I'm interested and I want to do this? She has that thing, man. She's talented. She's a former Olympian. She's undefeated. She's not. I said today at the press conference when we were talking, Tito Ortiz came out yesterday, okay? And Tito Ortiz said in some interview with somebody, Ronda Rousey hasn't even proven herself yet, da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh my God, Tito. Ronda Rousey is an Olympian. She won a medal. She won a medal in judo in the what games was it? Beijing. Yeah. In Beijing, right? She wins a medal. He went to a junior college and wrestled. He wrestled at a junior college. Okay, and I'm not taking anything away from Tito. Just be careful what you say, okay? Now, yesterday I went in after I read his awesome quote, and I looked at Ronda Rousey in her 9 fights. Her 9 fights have lasted 9 minutes and 18 seconds. Tito's first 9 fights, 40 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay? She has already accomplished more, and she's a world champion. You know? Relax, Tito. I know you're a manager and you got to say some stupid stuff here and there, but easy, big guy. Is
there enough depth in that division that we're going to, who else can we talk about, you know, her fighting after Liz Carmouche?
Yeah, well, there's definitely a couple fights. There's a rematch with H.E.A.T. We've got Sarah McMahon, and if you talk to Joe and Sean, there's a whole other list of girls that are out there, you know. And we keep saying, again, we assume that, well, who would Ronda fight? Who would Ronda? Nobody's saying Ronda's going to win and continue to be. One of these other girls could become the champion. But I can tell you this, Ronda Rousey is the woman that's kicking this whole thing off. Media sources that have never covered, not just the UFC, this sport in general, period, are covering her. From, you know, HBO to Forbes magazine to Time magazine to the LA Times front page, all this crazy stuff that's going on. And no fighter in the history of the UFC has ever gotten that kind of coverage, especially for their first fight in the UFC.
Well, she's done.
Brock Lesnar didn't get that kind of coverage for his first fight in the UFC.
I wonder too, with all of this new media coming.
And it's not, the stories aren't freak show stories. Like, oh, this freak show women's fighting stuff is, it's a legitimate athlete who's worked her entire life to become the best at what she does, and people are respecting that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about, because it is new sources of people, you know, talking about the legitimacy of everything, and I feel like, you know, UFC's, I don't know if it's, you know, it's been growing and growing and growing, and obviously with the Fox deal now, and I know you're changing some things with photography and who's covering this, and is it that you feel like now the Fox deal has helped you emerge as, not that it wasn't legitimate, but like now, you know what I mean, now it's gone from adolescence to grown up. Is that how it feels?
There's no doubt about it. It's like when we talk about all this, everybody feels like there's some beef between us and Spike TV. There's no beef whatsoever with Spike. I love Kevin Kay, the guys over there at Spike. They're all good guys. My problem was with the higher up guy at Viacom. But the bottom line is this, is that we outgrew that network. We couldn't stay on that network anymore, no matter what. We outgrew it. With this Fox platform, I mean, this is where we needed to be. And now we're aligned with all the other top sports. We're kicking ass. We came out the gates this year just killing it. As long as everybody stays healthy, it's going to be a great year. We had a plan. We've had a plan for the last year. These guys, this Fox deal came out of nowhere. Came in last minute, and they moved stuff around and improvised to get us on the air and to do the right thing by us, and they continue to do it. It's just going to get bigger and better, and I can never explain enough how huge and amazing this is.
And lastly, I mentioned in the scrum about Chael and how some people were saying there might be Chael fatigue. He's on Tough, he's on UFC Tonight, and he's great. And you said you weren't worried about that. And he actually wrote me back, and I want to show you what he said. He said, because I said, oh, Dana, I tweeted, I said, oh, Dana's not worried about any Chael fatigue. And he wrote me back and he said, well, the question is, does Chael want them? They better be ready to kiss the ring.
There you go. There's the answer. Like I said, Chael was off for a while there.
Yeah.
Chael's life from a year and a half ago to today is night and day, you know, and I'm happy for the guy. I respect Chael Sonnen. Everybody talks about Chael Sonnen, you know, talks his way into this, Chael Sonnen fights his way into it, man. Chael Sonnen steps up and takes fights that other people don't take. He's not afraid of anybody. He'll speak his mind. I love Chael Sonnen.
And he's great to work with. I've worked with him and he's fantastic.
He is. He's a great guy. He's a good person.
Last question. I want a Nick the Tooth t-shirt, and he told me that it was only custom. How do I get one of those?
Yeah, the Nick the Tooth t-shirts, I made those for me. I have like 3 of them. There's only 3 in existence. I will get you a Nick the Tooth t-shirt.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, well, congratulations on all the successes. So far, the year's off to a great start, and I'm looking forward to the show on Saturday.
Thank you.